And I do love the sacrifices you made for your art, where all of you like got blackout drunk just to experience that, just so you could accurately portray that on screen. That is amazing
Yes, that's our
dedication.
cross to bear. Thank you very much. It was tough, but we did it for the art.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm talking to Sierra McCormick, the star of Edge of Everything, which is coming to digital and on demand on June 7th, 2024. I'm going to talk to her right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. Awesome. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Sierra McCormick, the star of Edge of Everything, which is coming to digital and on demand on June 7th, 2024. It is a dramatic, heartfelt, and at times painful coming of age story about someone who is trying to grow after a family tragedy and maybe grow up a little too fast. Sierra does a fantastic job. She is this person. She is the lead. She kind of pulls at your heartstrings and makes you very, very upset at the same time. So I'm very excited to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining me.
No, thank you. Very happy to be in conversation. This is awesome, and thank you for what a wonderful intro. I appreciate it. That was what we were going for, was tug at your heartstrings and also kind of make you upset a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. So, I mean, I don't have teenagers yet, but I think the moral of this
mm,
movie is like, don't trust kids; they're horrible, right? That's what I'm supposed to take from this whole thing.
I don't think so. I mean, people we've been touring the movie and doing a lot of screenings, and so depending on where you are and how much distance you have from adolescence, I think you get something different from the movie. So a lot of parents are very horrified when they watch the movie, and it makes them anxious about their teenagers. But then a lot of people that maybe aren't as far from adolescence, they find a lot of really poignant like truth in it. So it's a mixed bag. And I think if there was something I wanted people to take away from the movie, it would be to give some grace to those going through the horrific fucking ordeal of adolescence. It's tough. It's hard. And it's hard on its own. And then if you add any kind of unique personal strife to that, it's a Herculean effort to get through it. Or at least it felt that way for me. And I know it feels that way for Abby in a way, in the movie. So be a little kinder to those going through that experience and that point in their life. It's rough, and if you're going through it yourself, if you're at that point, to give yourself a little grace as well. I wish I
Yeah,
had, maybe, when I was that age.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say like it's you brought up the whole like going through adolescence, which is itself a factor, but then you throw in what Abby's going through, her own personal
Yeah.
struggles that she's dealing with, and like throw that into that little melting pot of hormones and insanity, and you just have a really, really bad stew. So
Yeah, no, you do. It's honestly, at least for me, I think I can confidently say, having been at this point, I'm a decade out from peak puberty, that adolescence is the worst time in your life. It
hmm
sucks. And I
hmm
think that now we're kind of reaching a cinematic landscape that doesn't perpetuate this, but at least when I was a kid, I kind of felt like being a teenager was supposed to be the best time of my life. It's so romanticized in a lot of movies and media, and I thought that there was something wrong with me because I was just having a terrible time of it. And I was like, this is the peak, this is the prime, or whatever. I get so anxious about it. But looking back, I'm glad that movies like this film, Edge of Everything, and a lot of others are kind of portraying it in a much more authentic light. That there is a lot of, your emotions feel so big at that age, that the joys are extreme joys, but the despairs are extreme despairs,
hmm
So just taking that with, taking that point in your life with a little more nuance, maybe, is something that I'm glad that the cinematic landscape of coming of age films now is kind of helping, I think, helping people that are in that specific time period themselves not feel like there's something wrong with them because it's not the best time of their life.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And I
yeah.
think, the whole romanticized thing, maybe it was a little easier back then because like nowadays I look at kids growing up and like, oh, I don't think I could do it. Like you've got social media, this film has aspects of that where, she makes a friend through social media. She starts following her. She sees all the great things that she's doing. And you like their friendship develops at exponential speed versus what it would be back in the days before you had that, where you like would maybe go hang out one day and then like a week later, maybe you would hang out again. And this film just kind of shows how much quicker those emotions and those kind of instances can happen.
Yeah, I agree. And even me, who I was a teenager about a decade ago, and it's not that long ago, but to me, being a teenager now is even more insane and difficult than it was when I was at my age, in the early 2010s, navigating adolescence, because I think social media has changed so much. Like when I was doing kind of my prep for this movie, I wanted to make sure I love our makeup artist Lizzie, because she was very down for me to apply a lot of my makeup myself, because I feel like there's a way that you apply makeup when you're that age that's very gaudy and amateur like and not polished. And I really wanted to capture that, because I when I was looking back at all my adolescent kind of like photos, these deep fried selfies from Apple photo booth and stuff, I had just like the most horrible makeup application on, and so I really wanted to capture that. But I feel like kids now, especially, and I think you can see it in the movie, and it's something I really tried to portray with Abby, is that she wants so badly to be above it all, to be too cool for everything, to be kind of aloof, and to be, not to care too deeply about anything, or betray the fact that she's upset or sad, or going through something, or feeling things very, very deeply and emotional. And so I feel like kids now, there's a even bigger pressure to kind of be that way, because the online footprint is even more insane than it was when I was a kid. Just because I look back at the way I was online at that time when I was that age, and I wasn't as afraid of being cringe, and so there's still something very youthful about the way that I was acting, and even though I was wearing a ton of makeup, it still looks very youthful. I look like a teenager. I look like a kid because of the way I wasn't so afraid to be cringe, or to be weird online, and to have everyone kind of flame me for it. And I feel like the landscape that Abby's navigating nowadays is even um more scrutinous, and more, policing of everything that you do, and any kind of expression of caring too much about something can be labeled as cringe. And so it was interesting for me to sort of navigate that aspect of current adolescence that I think is a little different from the way I grew up. And kind of getting to explore that with Abby was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of cringe to think of, what kind of comments I'd have gotten if I posted pictures when I was in high school.
Yeah,
I probably would have got a ton of comments and have a ton of friends, but like,
right. Yeah, no, same.
so I loved hearing about how you developed Abby. I'm curious, how did you get involved in this project? How did this script come across your desk? Have you worked with the directors before? I know this was their like first feature film, so I'm not sure if you had
Correct.
seen them before. Or...
No, I'd never worked with him before, but my dear friend Anthony, who plays the older kind of guy that's creeping on Abby, is one of my dearest, closest friends for about a decade. And he boarded the project first, and then got me kind of in contact with the filmmakers, and everything kind of went from there. I read the script, and it was very exciting to me, because prior to that, I'd been working mostly in genre stuff, and mostly on things that were kind of solitary. Like it was either just me in a lot of scenes, or it was me and maybe one other person, and the dynamics were very different. And so reading this and seeing how much of it was about these big sort of friend group moments as a teenager was very appealing. And the fact that it was a lot more grounded and, just straight dramatic and true to life, the style that the filmmakers were going for was very much like Eliza Hittman and Andrea Arnold. And so kind of delving into that cinematic world was very exciting. It was a very exciting opportunity for me, because I had been doing mostly genre, where you're either in a very heightened tone, or you're putting yourself in a very fantastical, bleak headspace or scenario, or something that would never actually happen in real life, or something that is the biggest exaggeration of the most kind of sorrow and horrible things that can happen in life, and or creating fear. Like creating fear is such a difficult emotion for me, at least, to be like inventing, because fear is such a physiological thing. And so I've been doing a lot of that, and the opportunity to sort of get to play a wide spectrum of emotion in a very grounded and naturalistic way was probably the most exciting prospect for me with this.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of a, epitome of what you were talked about, like genre and, Solo was Massive Night, where it was a fantastic film, but you were like a radio operator in that movie. So you did have a ton of interaction. But I do kind of think that this film, I'm sure a lot of parents will think that this might be fantastical or hope that this will be fantastical, and it will definitely create a lot of fear in them. So
Sure, yeah. I mean that didn't I didn't have to be playing that perspective. So that was nice for me because everything was super exciting. Even all the bad, dangerous things I was doing in the movie from Abby's perspective, it's exciting, and she's getting to grow up and do cool adult things. Even though when you get to actually be an adult, you look back and you're like, oh, those were not cool adult things to be doing.
yeah, exactly. Like your first time drinking alcohol and it's terrible and you hate it, but you're like, this is amazing. Like I'm an adult now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, exactly. That like rite of passage moment. There's a lot of those in this movie, and that was a very fun sort of experience to kind of put myself in that these things were new and exciting. That was
Which
yeah,
of course
very
we
very
both
fun.
did when we turned 21, because we wouldn't break the rules. That would be
Right, of
wrong.
course. No, never. No, no, no. We would never do anything before age 21.
Of
I
course.
sure never had a drop of liquor on my lips before I was age 21. In case my mom's listening to this.
Exactly. So it sounds like you did a lot of like reflection on yourself growing up, maybe going back to look at like old social media posts. How did you
Yes.
really prepare? Like, did you do anything else to prepare to be like a 15-year-old? I don't know. Did you listen to music that the kids listen to these
Yeah.
days? Did you
Oh,
like
no, not
do
not the
TikTok
what the
dances?
kids.
I guess that's a thing.
No. No, I didn't because for me it was more connecting to that moment in my life, however many years before. So I actually made a playlist of all the stuff that I was really into when I was exactly Abby's age. So summer 2012 or whatever. And I feel like that was actually a lot more useful than trying to understand what kids now are into necessarily, just
Mhm.
because it for me, I'd already been through this point in my life. And it was kind of a mixed bag actually. So I got to experience things that I hadn't gotten to experience when I was a kid because I had somewhat of an unorthodox childhood and
Mhm.
adolescence. I was a working actor a lot of that time. So I felt kind of like I missed out on certain aspects of normal adolescence, and I always kind of felt a little bit uh empty in that respect. Like I didn't get to have some of those experiences, and so in this film, sort of vicariously through Abby, I got to have a lot of new experiences that I'd never had as a teenager. Kind of that thrill of sneaking out and that thrill of everything being so hilariously funny. Even if when you're in a friend group and you're teenagers like that, it's like someone could just say a word in a weird way and all of you are just like wheezing and like pissing yourselves laughing. And I really miss that sort of freeness, that
Mhm.
uninhibited aspect of adolescence. And I feel like I'm always a very controlled kind of person. I feel like maybe that's from a lifetime of being on camera, and I didn't really ever feel like I got to have that free adolescence necessarily. And so through this movie, I got to have that experience, and I got to sort of enact scenarios that I hadn't gotten to experience. But at the same time, what's so universal about that time in your life is just how enormous everything feels, and how the right song or the right musical artist or the right movie or the right person can connect with you in such a deep way and make you feel seen in a way that you haven't in your whole life at that age. And so I was kind of a mixed bag. I did a lot of reflecting on who I was when I was a teenager, because that was a very important part of and a very universal part, I feel like, of this performance is, how regardless of what your upbringing or your situation is, like when you're just that age, things just feel a certain way and everything feels so enormous and huge. And at the same time, also kind of granting myself these experiences that I didn't get to have. So putting my almost regressing in a way back to that free and uninhibited way that you are when you're a teenager, but then also getting to experience these new experiences for me through that lens. It was, I don't know, it was a very unique role for me and a very unique experience, and one that I'll probably treasure for a really long time because it helped me forge a lot of new friendships, and I really got to feel like I reparented myself in a way to give myself some of those experiences that I didn't necessarily get to have as a youngster.
That is really cool. Yeah, it's a roundabout way, but you finally had your childhood, or I guess a normal childhood.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of still in the context of being in front of camera for it, but the filmmakers really like fostered an environment where I felt safe to regress, like I said, in a way, to being kind of an annoying 14-year-old. And that was really, really fun. I hadn't been that, and even though Abby is definitely someone who's playing all of her emotions pretty close to the vest and wants to feel cooler than everything and be kind of aloof and above it all, she's still that age where you can't help but feel everything so deeply. And so getting to come back to that and experience that after feeling so far away from it for so long was incredibly valuable. And the filmmakers really made me feel safe doing that. And so I'm very grateful to them for that, and the cast, honestly.
Yeah, so that's perfect, junction. I was going to ask, how was it like working with Pablo and Sophia since this was their first feature film? It sounds like they were, they gave you the latitude to kind of do what you need to do to make the character come to life. But is there anything else about them that was interesting?
Oh, yeah, wonderful, honestly. And I don't know, I always laugh a little bit when I do press or interviews for movies and they talk about, taking the chance or like trusting a first-time filmmaker. And in my experience, almost all of my best experiences working have been with someone who's making their first feature. And I feel extra safe working with someone doing their first film because I feel like it's their baby. They're not gonna there's no way they could be passive about it or not plan everything out or not care, so deeply about it. It's their baby, essentially. It's their first footprint, their first mark on cinema, so they, in my experience, they're extremely caring and detailed and prepared when they're working on their first feature. And so Pablo and Sophia are no exception to that. They were extremely prepared, and they gave us the most wonderful golden thing you can give actors is they scheduled in a week of rehearsal time for us to just rehearse and get comfortable with each other before we started filming. And they did all these wonderful prep sort of things. So they did let me kind of do what I wanted, and they kind of gave me the freedom to explore like how I wanted Abby to be portrayed. But they also really gave us all a framework for getting back into that headspace of being that age. They had us do all of these interesting like exercises where we'd sit around and they'd tell us to talk about our childhood bedroom or talk about what we liked when we were kids. And then also they constructed like some of these improv exercises for us to do where we acted out scenes that happened before the script starts, like before you see Abby and all of her friends, like experiences they would have had before that and prior to that. And they told us to act like we're at a sleepover and play games. And I think that combined with just their wonderful sort of nature and being very collaborative and just wonderful people to be in around and work with really made it so that when we were actually shooting on the day, we all felt very prepared and free and able to kind of have spontaneous, wonderful moments happen because they did so much prep. By the time we actually got on set, we were able to be very loose and free. It was wonderful.
That is awesome to hear because you hear so many times, indie movies especially, and then also like a first-time director who's just trying to get the funding together. You usually don't have that much time to do that prep. Like usually you just kind of get thrown in. So that's amazing that you had that much time to like really build your characters and build your relationships before you like got on the big screen.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for it. Honestly, I feel like all the best work I've ever done is because we got ample time to prep beforehand. So I'm always very grateful when the filmmakers really go to bat for that time.
Yeah, and I love you mentioning, first-time directors. This is the second first-time director movie that you did. You also were in Last Stop in Yuma County with Francis Galupi. So it seems
Yeah,
like first-time directors are doing, really nice work with you. So it's good to see.
yeah. Or honestly, like I was in Adam Egypt Mortimer's first film, Some Kind of Hate, and I was in Andrew Patterson's first film, Best of Night, and I was in Sean King O'Grady's first film, We Need to Do Something. And all of those were some of the most artistically satisfying and wonderfully collaborative experiences I've had, and they were all first time filmmakers technically. And I think when people say that, they kind of expect, or they're implying that this person's never been behind a camera before, but that's literally never the case. I mean, they're
Yep.
never really a first time filmmaker. It might be their first feature, but in all of my experience, that means that they've done extensive other work behind camera. They've made shorts, or they've been practicing. Something has led them to this. It's not like they're just some random person from off the street that just got plucked by producers to get behind the camera all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
they've all done incredible prep and incredible. They care about it so deeply because it's their first, I feel like. And I love working with people that care deeply about what they do, because I care very deeply as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask, like, given the prep and kind of the way that your characters are all kind of friends in this little friend group, did it almost become like method acting when you were all there? Like after the scenes, did you kind of stay in that mode? Was it kind of like inevitable because you were all together there? Did you stay in like a teenager kind of mindset, or was it very kind of on and off camera?
Yeah, in a way, actually, kind of, yes, because one, all of us, all the cast and crew, we're all still friends. Like we all hang out as a group all the time. Like I made a lot of wonderful friendships on this movie. And so some of the prep that we did beforehand, outside of what the directors were having us do, we actually did kind of have a method, or whatever you want to call it, experience where when we were kind of getting to know each other after all the day of prep working with the directors, we were all staying at the same hotel, and we all kind of got a little too drunk like you do in high school, and we kind of had that really interesting bonding experience of holding each other's hair back while we puked in someone's hotel room because we all got a little too turned on the hard cider when we were all sitting by a bonfire, like just chatting and getting to know each other. And I think all of us, I think the rest of the cast would agree, we all kind of regressed almost to our teenage selves, which for a short amount of time was very fun and very freeing. And so, yeah, honestly, like everyone was the utmost professional. And I really loved working with everyone for that reason as well. But at the same time, yeah, like we'd all get a little giggly, a little slap happy. And, we kind of got to have that experience of when you're in a group with your peers like that and you're that age, everything is so funny and everything is just fucking hilarious. And someone can just say one thing and you're like pissing yourself laughing. It's a really wonderful thing that I think sometimes we lose in adulthood. We get a little too controlled, too inhibited, too concerned with being mature or whatever. And getting to sort of experience that kind of friendship and that kind of energy again was really wonderful. And so yeah, we all kind of did regress a little bit, and it felt like summer camp. I think that's what everyone else would say, is that it felt like summer camp with your friends. The whole shoot did. And it was my first time also working with directors that were close to my age, which was a little bit jarring to me just because I've been acting since I was 8. And so the director typically is such a, or at least growing up for me, they were like the teacher or the boss, or like they were the adult that knew
Mhm.
everything. And so I needed to listen to them. They were this authority figure. But working with Pablo and Sophia, it felt like collaborating with your friends. And that was a very interesting experience for me this time. Like we all had a shared framework because we all grew up around the same time. And that was an interesting, like, new experience for me with this, and working with them was working with people that were close to my age, and it being feeling more like collaborative instead of like they were the authority, I guess.
That is awesome. No, that sounds like a great environment for this film specifically. And I do love the sacrifices you made for your art, where all of you like got blackout drunk just to experience that, just so you could accurately portray that on screen. That is amazing
Yes, that's our
dedication.
cross to bear. Thank you very much. It was tough, but we did it for the art.
Someone has to do it. I'm glad that you took on that role.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you.
but I was kind of curious, how upset were you filming that go-kart scene when you couldn't go-kart? Like your characters, were you just angry, just like wanting to be out there? Or-
Kind of. I'm also not very good at things like that, so I was a little glad that I didn't have to suck so bad at go-karting on camera. And Abby's not supposed to be upset that her friends are go-karting and she's not either. She's kind of viewing go-karting as like a childish birthday activity, and she's more focused on flirting with Anthony's character. So I wasn't too upset. Like I said, I kind of I'm a little embarrassed at how bad I am at things like that. And so I was glad I didn't have to be really bad at it on camera. And then on top of that, Abby's point of view is that it's dumb and childish to go karting on your birthday. I'd rather go flirt with the cool older guy. So wasn't too bummed, but in retrospect, I am a little bit like, damn, like wish I'd gotten to go kart with everybody.
Yeah, what she has to learn when she grows up is that when you become a real adult, you can do both of those. You go kart and then you
Yeah,
go flirt. Yeah, it's just
no,
it's that
precisely. And
time management.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you get a little older and you kind of lose this rigidity about what's childish and what's not. And I think that's freeing in a different way. When you're young, you're free for different reasons. You're more free emotionally, maybe, but you still have this idea that you don't want to. There's like that very short little like window of time when you're a teenager where you are doing everything in your power to seem like an adult, and then you get to be an adult, and you're like, oh my god, I wish I was a kid again.
Exactly. Every day of my life, I wish.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. You touched on this at the very start of the interview. Like, what do you think the moral of the movie is? I mean, I kind of like saw it as almost like, it could be careful what you wish for, or it could be like you said, that you give teenagers some grace, like hopefully they will make the right decisions. But this also could have turned a very different direction had some of Abby's decisions gone the other way. So I'm just curious, like what you kind of take away from this film.
Yeah, I think that, you know, and it's interesting because I think if you're looking maybe at the morality of the movie, you might be looking more at Jason's character as the parent trying to navigate this time in his kid's life. But I don't know, for me, like I said, I think the moral is still, what I said earlier, that that part of your life is just very difficult, and it feels like a Herculean effort to get through it, in a way. And so when you're already kind of feeling that way and you don't necessarily get the right kind of support at home, it can kind of lead you to a place where you might get yourself involved in things that are kind of dangerous and kind of bad for you in a way. Because I think what's so appealing to Abby at that exact moment in her life about friendship with Caroline is that Caroline seems so fun and cool and uninhibited, and so much more free and interesting, and Caroline is so much more above it all, and that's kind of how Abby wants to be. Like, there's that wonderful scene, and it's such a small moment, but I think it really illustrates a lot of that relationship that Abby has between Caroline and her other friends, is that they're all trying to play this game at the sleepover where they act like monsters and they try to scare everyone, and Abby's laughing along and she's enjoying it, but then she kind of looks over at Caroline and Caroline's not enjoying it, and so she kind of puts on this front all of a sudden to seem like she's too cool for it, or that's childish, or that's
Mhm.
that's dumb. And I think that's such an interesting just point, I guess, that the movie has, is that when you're going through, the throes of adolescence, and then on top of that, Abby's dealing with intense grief and loss, you're going to sort of make decisions and gravitate towards people that maybe you even know are not the best thing for you, but it feels so different and you feel supported in such a way that you don't feel at home. So I don't know, maybe, like I said, to just you know so if you know someone that's going through that point in their life, that time in their life when everything feels that way, to support them and to give them some grace. And like I said, if you're going through that time in your life currently, to be kind to yourself too, because I think I wish I had been a lot more kind to myself when I was going through that awkward stage of life. And I feel like if I'd had, just a different perspective on it, then maybe I would have felt a little differently, and I wouldn't have felt so alone, even though everyone that was around me that was my age was also going through something kind of similar. And it's interesting. I don't know, when you're that age, you can feel so alone, even though everyone is also going through the same thing. So I don't know, be supportive of those in your life that are in that time, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, for sure. And I think to bring it all back like that, the social media bubble also can definitely make you feel more alone because like
Yeah.
we said, you're seeing all these kind of best pictures, best kind of lives of everyone else, and you're sitting there thinking like, why am I not? And the reality is that Everyone
No one
probably is
is.
in that
Yeah.
same, yeah, exactly. And I did
Yeah.
love how you brought up the duality of Abby because I love seeing those too. And it's just like there'll be flashes where she's like a kid again, and then she'll switch back into like adult Abby or adult, trying to be adult Abby, and it just kind of goes back and forth throughout. So I loved seeing that.
Well, yeah, that's what adolescence is, or at least it was for me, was wanting so badly not to be perceived as a kid, but then not being able to help yourself in a way because you are still a kid. You're very, very young, and I don't know, I felt so old when I was a teenager, like and I don't know, it made me feel like my carefree youth was behind me in some way. But then at the same time, I didn't want to be perceived as youthful at all. And so it's this interesting duality where you're like mourning the loss of your childhood, but you want to be so far away from it as well, that it kind of, yeah, it kind of creates this contradictory nature in you, which I think also, like I said, leads you to make, decisions that are not great, before your frontal lobe is done cooking.
Sure. No, for sure. That's definitely a moral of the story. All right, so I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. When I see how
Okay.
your personal experiences map to things in the movie, you can feel free to skip any
Okay.
of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay. All right.
All right, first question. Which of the girls were you most like in high school? Or maybe none of them. Maybe you're your own person.
Um, hmm. I think flavors of a lot of them. I think I wished I was a Caroline when I was in high school. I wanted to be that person, but I definitely wasn't. And I wasn't navigating this insane loss the way Abby was, but I think I was closer to being Abby because I feel like something about Abby is that she feels like she blends in and she's not terribly unique or noteworthy. And so that's why someone like Caroline, who's so out there and so gregarious and so uninhibited, is so appealing to her. And so I think
Mm.
for me, I was definitely more like an Abby, thinking that I was very ordinary and unremarkable and wishing I was, had one of those chaotic, cool personalities like Caroline did. And then also I think I, unlike a lot of the other girls in the movie, had just a different experience in high school altogether because I was working. So I think I was a little more jaded and had a little bit more of a chip on my shoulder when I was in high school than any of the girls do in this movie. Just because I'd been working since I was 8 or so, and so
Oh,
I
wow.
had this. I think I had much more of a world weariness in high school, and luckily that kind of, I think, faded away a little bit as I got a little older. I don't know, maybe it's still there, but I would say I'm definitely more of an Abby, I would say. Although I didn't do any of the very thrilling crazy adolescent things that Abby did. I was pretty goody in high school. So probably Abby, which makes sense because
Yeah,
I play her. So yeah, a lot of that was easy to tap into, I guess.
perfect. Do you have your belly button pierced?
No, I don't. And after we shot this, I really wanted to go get my belly button pierced because I thought it looked so cute when we were filming. And then I got back after we were done filming, and I also decided to get some piercings that I've wanted since I was a teenager. So I got a couple more ear piercings, and I did like 3 of them all in one session. And I was going to do my belly button in the same session, but then after the first 3, I was like, maybe I'll chill. I'll hold off on the belly button, and then the healing process for these piercings, because I'm a side sleeper, was so
Oh,
terrible that I was just
ow.
like, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on the belly button piercing because I feel like all of my pants and stuff would hit exactly where the belly button piercing would be, and that would be a sensory nightmare for me. So I put the belly button piercing on hold, but the movie damn near influenced me to get one, and it did kind of push me to get my ears done a little bit more. But no, at the moment, no.
You stayed in that rebellious phase. I love it. Your character kind of stayed with you
Yes.
after.
A little bit. Yeah, that I'll show you, parents. I'll show you, mom. I'm gonna go get my ears pierced 3 more times.
You,
Yeah, that kind of stuck with me.
you can't tell me what to do. I'm 25 now.
Yeah, no, literally.
When was the last time you had a drug test?
Literally never.
Oh, nice. Ver-
Yeah, no,
Hey,
I
get
mean,
get into acting then, kids. That's the way to beat it.
yeah, literally never. And I also wasn't there was no way for me to go sneak off and do anything like that when I was a kid because my parents were very strict. And where we lived, like their house had security cameras and a security system. There was no sneaking out or doing anything like that. They were pretty strict with me growing up. And I'm the eldest, so I had to do all the trailblazing. And then when it came time for my sister to be an adolescent, she got a lot more leeway than I did. But no, my parents never drug tested me, and I've never had a quote unquote real job that would also do that. So thank God.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, no, I've never been asked that before on this whole press tour and doing all the stuff for this movie. No one's asked me that. So
There you
yeah,
go.
never.
Original content right here.
Yes.
When was the last time that you were out all night?
Often. I don't know. I'm a night owl. I'm very much nocturnal, and I'm very much an extrovert as well. So I get I'm kind of dead on the way to the function, and then when I get to the function, I'm around everybody. I get like a huge well of energy stored up, and then that kind of allows me to do things where I have to be by myself again. So for me, I can everyone knows if you know me, you know that I can shut the party down. I'm definitely an all night kind of person. Just I think because I stay up so late naturally my whole life. I've been nocturnal according to my parents, and I love a good party. I love being around people. I love hanging out. So often, honestly, like I
That's
can't exactly pinpoint the last time because it's kind of an all the time thing for me. Usually it's someone else shutting down the get together at the end. It's never me.
awesome. That sounds like a fun time. Is there
Yeah.
like a voicemail or a text message that you return to over and over for some reason?
Trying to think. I don't think so. Not a voicemail. I think also because I'm very fortunate, knock on wood, to not have lost any people that are very close to me so far in my life. I feel like if I had, then I might have a very different answer. But
Mhm.
no, I return more to my camera roll though. I go back and I look at pictures a lot. And I on my phone and even more so on my laptop, I have photos going back, 2011. So I return to photos, I think, more than text messages and voicemails. But I think that I reflect on moments all the time through photos and stuff, especially with my family and my friends and my partner. Like I definitely I definitely touch on those things through the camera roll all the time. But yeah, not a voicemail or a text message. However, my mom did save this voicemail for like a decade, I think, of me calling her because when I maybe was like 7, I didn't like spaghetti as a kid, and I'd forgotten my lunch or something at school, and the school lunch was spaghetti, and I just really didn't like it. So she saved for years and years and years this voicemail of me calling her and being like, "Mom, I forgot my lunch and it's spaghetti day and I hate spaghetti." And then she brought me Arby's, and I was pumped about that. So
Oh
that's
no,
a
she's
fond
teaching you
memory.
the bad mess. She's teaching you bad bad habits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was the talk of the lunch table with my junior roast beef or whatever it was, which to me now would be super not something I'd want to eat. But at the time, I was pumped about it. So she saved for a really long time this voicemail of me calling her about that. And I think finally, when she switched over phones, one of these last couple of years, it went away, and she was very sad. So she returned to this voicemail of me a lot. But if I'm thinking about it, I think I reflect more on my photos.
For sure. That makes sense. All right. And the last question, this was a question in the movie, so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see what your answer was. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Me? Oh wow. Okay. Um,
Or maybe you already grown up. Maybe you've already, this experience showed you how far you've come and maybe you're happy where you are.
well, I don't know. I think if you'd like I think if you'd asked me that when I was Abby's age, I'd be pretty satisfied if I could see into the future with what I grew up to be. But if you're asking me that now, like maybe less of like what do I want to be when I grow up, but maybe what do I hope for the future or
Mhm.
something like that. For me, I hope that I become even more comfortable with myself maybe than I am now even. And I've gotten a lot more comfortable with myself, I think, over the years, especially compared to when I was Abby's age. I'm definitely a lot more at peace with like who I am and, things that are just inherent facts about me. And then I hope that when I'm older, I'm still getting to do the kind of work that I love to do, which is movies like this and do things that I'm passionate about. And for me, if I had some kind of ethos or something for my career, it would be variety. And so I hope that when I grow up, I guess even more so in the future, I'm still getting to have experiences I've never had before and do things I've never done before. Just keep it fresh all the time.
That is a great kind of hope, and also just a great kind of like way to live your life. Just keep trying to try new things, test yourself, see what you like, see what you don't
Yeah.
like, add it to your repertoire. That's kind of how you become a well-rounded person.
Yeah, and I think I'm always learning about myself all the time, especially yeah, I think uniquely as an actor, you get to learn a lot about yourself. I think more than maybe other people do in other professions. You're thinking about who you are and who you were all the time. So I think I learn more and more about myself every day that I'm an actor.
It's basically free therapy. That's amazing. No drug tests,
I was,
free therapy. There you go.
I was like, I don't know. I've still paid a lot for therapy, so perhaps, perhaps not quite. But I have had some healing experiences, much like this movie, where I got to heal sort of what I felt like I missed out on as an adolescent. So yeah, sometimes you get to have those healing experiences.
It feels like it's just kind of like the Matrix or like the Highlander. You just need to portray a therapist in a role, and then you'll add
Ah,
that to your repertoire, and you'll be like, okay,
there
now
you
I've got
go.
that skill.
Yeah, there you go. Now I know. Now I know how to therapize myself.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
There you go. Be some scary places you're gonna go to then, but
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
so the movie is out on June 7th, 2024 on digital and on demand. You were out promoting it, getting the word out, letting people know about
Yes.
the film and also the experience that you had making it. But after people see you in Edge of Everything, I imagine you have other projects in the works. What can people look for next from you after they see you in this film?
Well, I also have another movie out right this second called The Last Stop in Yuma County, and it's on VOD right now, and it's in select theaters, I think, still. So definitely catch that if you can, because promoting these two movies at the same time has been a really fascinating experience because they're extremely different from each other. So if you watch Edge of Everything and you want to see me do something vastly different in another movie, The Last Stop in Yuma County is a good place to start, and it's out right now. It's a super fun it's very heightened genre though, which is like the opposite of this movie. And coincidentally, Edge of Everything is the probably youngest I'll ever play again. And Last Stop in Yuma County is the first time in my career that I've played a grown up. I've played an adult.
Oh wow.
So we got both ends of the spectrum there. So that'll if you want to watch something completely different after Edge of Everything, that's a good place to go.
For sure. And both coming out, yeah, around the same month, and both involving you making some bad decisions. So, there's some parallels
Yeah,
there.
oddly enough, yeah. Yeah, I wonder, like, it's so fun to play people that do things you would never do. Um,
We hope,
yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Never,
Yeah.
never, never. Um, but yeah, so that's what you can look out for.
Awesome. So check out Last Stop in Yuma County. It's in select theaters now on VOD, and it's coming to Blu-ray, I think, next month. So check that out. But also make sure to check out Sierra McCormick and Edge of Everything. It's coming to digital on demand on June 7th, 2024. It is a dramatic, painful coming of age story where you get to see some really poor decisions by some youth, but also, a growth path and some good, decisions
Yeah.
as well. It kind of has the balance. So it is definitely something that you're going to want to check out, especially if you're a little further away from the youth and want to like relive that pain. It's a perfect movie to watch. So like I said, it's on digital on demand on June 7th, 2024. This is the star, Sierra McCormick. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, David. This has been awesome.
That was Sierra McCormick talking about Edge of Everything, which is coming to digital and on demand on June 7th, 2024. It is a dramatic, heartfelt, and at times painful coming of age story that looks at someone trying to grow up after a traumatic family experience and maybe grow up a little too quickly. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.